Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching India Tonight with me, Sumita, Kareer, and my colleague and co-host Ankur Mishra. He's joining us live from our Mumbai studios. And let's now put the focus on our other big story tonight. Now, Ankur, if Elon Musk is to be believed, very soon we may not need to work at all. In fact, he said that work becomes optional. And well, our bosses will be robots.
Sumita, if robots become bosses, no problem. Robots taking jobs is also okay. Just make sure that they also pay our EMIs.
Absolutely, Ankur. I think that's the sentiment that even I hold, and that's what Elon Musk has said. He said that AI and robots will create so much abundance that money will become irrelevant. So no question of EMIs. But what does that exactly mean for our jobs, and will AI capture all future value? Are job loss fears that many experts keep talking about, are they exaggerated or are they too real to ignore? And more importantly, is the labor force ready to face such disruption? And tonight we'll be discussing all of that and more.
Definitely, but before we delve into discussion with our guests on the impact of AI on the labor market, let's quickly listen what Elon Musk had to say.
Elon made this ridiculous prediction, and it's not true, but I think it will turn out to be true that in less than 20 years, that maybe even as little as, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, the advancements in AI and robotics will bring us to the point where working is optional. In the same way that, like, say, you can grow your own vegetables in your garden, or you could go to the store and buy vegetables. You know, so much harder to grow your own vegetables. but you know, some people like to grow their vegetables, which is fine. You know, but it will be optional in that way. Is my prediction.
All right. So very interesting comments that have come in from Elon Musk. He's known to sort of, give these kind of comments. But definitely these comments have made us think about the future of jobs, about the future of money as well. And in fact, let me welcome on this show Mr. Shantanu Rooj, is the founder and CEO of TeamLease EdTech. Also joining us on the show is Mr. Rajat Sethi. He is a political commentator. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET. Now, let me come to you first. Shantanu, will rising labor productivity inevitably reduce the need for human work, and will jobs become optional, as Mr. Elon Musk is suggesting that in the next 10 to 15 years we may not need to work at all?
Sumita, I think the entire discussion needs to be seen in its context. I think Elon Musk is talking about an economy which is highly automated, very rich economy. I don't think India is anywhere closer there. In the next 20 years, a country like India, I think it's not going to work optional, but to figure out how do we ensure better work, better wages to our people, right? If you look at the context in India, we add close to about 1 crore new people to the labor workforce every year. Almost 65% of our labor force is actually engaged in low performing, low productivity, informal job roles. I think that is where AI is going to put the maximum amount of impact for a country like India. And if we can do this with our demographic dividend, with the type of labor force, the young workforce, and the ability to add about 10 million people to the new people to the labor workforce, if we can actually train them with the AI skills, I think we'll be able to create the largest AI-ready talent for the world. I think that's where the opportunity is.
Right. Mr. Sethi, I want to come to you now. When Musk is saying that work will become optional, whom he is addressing? Is it for a country like India, for developing countries, or it is more for developed nations?
Well, when he says that, there is a time horizon. I believe he's still looking out 10 to 15 years out. And there is, there are arguments on both sides. There are contrarians to this who believe that there will be a whole different set of economy which will be created because people don't have to do the mundane jobs. So the creative industries will dominate. Each one of us has some or the other creativity, and that will see some economic value. So that's the contrary thought that is going around, and investors are betting on this contrarian view as well. But there is one thing which is without doubt. Lot of industries, in fact, most of the industries are pressing a hard reset button. So reset means that the way jobs are going to be created in sectors after sectors, everything will have to be thought through in a different way. Any kind of pedagogy which is being done on old school will be unfit for the new school and the new
Right.
set of opportunities. So that gap will remain. I mean, I can give you examples. I'm a defense entrepreneur. I can tell you, pick up Indian Navy, for example, or any navies around the world. Why do you need a manned submarine underwater when autonomous robots can do it? I mean, sea is all about dominance. You can have swarms of drones
Right.
in
Fair
the
point.
blue ocean.
Fair
So
point,
you don't
Rajat.
require that. So even if defense goes out, I mean, defense is a very big player. Railways will be all entirely automated. These are the
Right.
two biggest employers
Right.
in our country.
Right. So Rajat,
Private sector,
let me
IT remains a
interrupt you
very
here.
important
Let me
sector.
interject here. What you're saying. What you're saying, I completely agree with that. And in fact, Ankur would also agree with me. The kind of disruption that we're seeing on account of AI is spanning across industries, and it's not only impacting any one particular industry or tech industry, for example. But let me also ask you a question before we go back again to Shantanu. Rajat, what economic impacts you foresee on the global labor markets, and does this essentially widen the chasm between the haves and the have-nots? And does it then fasten the onset of population decline as well?
100%. I see it as an inverted U curve where you will see in the interim, in the short term or the medium term, some explosion of job creation as the world transits towards a AI centric economy. That will create some jobs for us. But going on the longer thought process, I believe all of this is going to dry out. Political systems will have to reimagine. There will be nothing left to redistribute. Very, very small set of people will have access to huge capital, and they would be the ones who would be de facto running the whole world. In that scenario, how does the politics shape? How does justice, economic justice, social justice pan out? All of these issues are subject for very rich conversations, and our politicians should be spending times on these very important topics, which are open for imagination, are open for policy making also. The policies that are set in today are going to look out 20 years from now, and have a material impact. But are we doing the necessary sort of thinking that is needed? Is our pedagogical system thinking and orienting itself to this future, which is hugely disruptive? Therefore, even if Elon Musk and his vision does not entirely fructify, where he says that three core sectors, AI, robotics, and space, will dominate maximum economic value, I still believe there is some merit in what he's saying in the broad direction in which factors of production are heading
I
towards. We
I
have to
agree.
be cognizant of that.
Even if India has a large young workforce but low formal skill levels, if AI takes over repetitive and rule-based tasks first, are we actually prepared for a world where workers need complex problem solving and creative skills as the base requirement? What is your opinion in this, Shantanu?
Yeah, I think AI is for India is not actually a threat. It's going to be India's moment. Very young nation. We add a large number of workforce, new entrants into the workforce every year. But if we can really train this workforce and get them tech fluency, we can get them with human skills, we can get them with great domain skills. I think we are going to create a great opportunity for a country like us. For this, however, one thing that's for sure in this case, Ankur, is the fact that AI is going to have different impact in different job roles. It's definitely going to impact in terms of boosting the productivity. It's going to change the landscape of employability, the nature of jobs that are going to change here. And it's definitely going to change the role of education and skilling. So I think for a country like India, we will need to
Right.
reimagine the format
Right.
of education for ourselves. Yeah.
Right. Right, Shantanu, you've hit the nail on its head. You have mentioned about skilling, and that is something that we need to question our government over and over again, and of course, corporate. So let me take that question across to you, Mr. Rajat Sethi. Is the government doing enough so far as coming out with policies with respect to training Indian talent on AI is concerned? Because we keep talking about the domestic dividend that we have and how India is the talent capital of the world, but are we capitalizing on that talent? And if we are capitalizing on the talent, then why are we seeing these companies conducting layoffs? Rajat?
Well, let me tell you that this demographic dividend concept has been turned on its head now. There was a time when we used to seek comfort in this term. I don't think you can seek comfort in this at all. We are a capital starved country and an underskilled country. What we are seeing now, the last 4 or 5 years, is that capital is also drying. It is not coming into our country. Look at our AI investments. Look at the scale difference. At least we are three orders below where US is, and the US is heading towards. Might be there is a bubble, and it might see some correction thereon. But even the correction, the base is so strong over there that they are prepared for dominating the AI economy in ways that we can't even be imagining right now. I mean, Shashi Tharoor wrote a beautiful article. What if we are entering into a phase where we'll be colonized by these set of handful AI companies around the world? Is our country? I mean, I am of a little pessimistic opinion that we would be short-circuited primarily because the kind of visionary leadership that is needed at a middle level. I mean, the politicians can set the broad frameworks, they can set the right incentives, but what is our India Inc. doing? The India Inc. should have been making those massive investments. And look at what Infosys does is share buyback. At a time when you are absolutely at a pivotal journey of an IT industry in our country, you do share buybacks because you found no other creative way of using capital. That is what is saddening. I mean, what would say a
Sethi,
union minister of
let's
IT is
let's
going to
stick to
do
the
at this
topic.
stage?
Of course, whatever Infosys decides, that's their own
No, no,
company's
that's
choice.
not. That's open for conversation. It
Yeah,
is
yes.
investor money.
What
It is.
what
It
I
is.
mean,
It's a
what we
listed.
should discuss here: if AI captures most value creation, wealth
Who
could
does that?
concentrate.
Who
Wealth
does
could
that? I mean, there
concentrate,
is.
as you're saying, and that is in the handful of companies and innovators. What governance on taxation models are needed to ensure value is shared and society does not split into digital haves and have-nots?
But that you are talking again, you're talking at least 10 years out. My problem is that those 10 years are not decided so far. I mean, the fate that this country is going to see is in our hands right now. We need to take the corrective actions. We need to create ample amount of surplus so that the governments have the ability to distribute resources. What will you do dividing zero? The problem is, the amount of mission orientedness that India should have been having at this stage, that is missing. And I am of a view that, everybody will have to be participant and aware participant in what is happening right under our noses. And we still believe that everything will fall in place. I'm sorry to say things will be much more disruptive. There are bets, there are $300 billion bet being made against India's entire outsourcing industry. There are VCs who are doing that to automate it, bring AI into it, and completely thoroughly disrupt the entire IT industry framework and business model. Now, are we prepared for it or not? The answer, I personally feel the answer is a big no. And we have to be cognizant as to which way the world
Right,
is
Rajat.
heading towards, and where we need to start putting in serious efforts in training our manpower, ensuring that the right policies are made.
Right,
Policy
Rajat.
inputs
Right.
also have to be given by the industry.
Rajat, but let me ask you a follow-up question. Rajat, let me ask you a follow-up question. You've raised, all very valid points. You've raised this point about skilling. You've raised this point about, having some sort of an intervention and how companies are not really focused on ensuring that they train their talent and they upskill their talent. And it is something that they need to also undertake. But why has the government not intervened, given the fact that we've seen many companies lay off employees? Why has the government not really intervened as far as these layoffs are concerned? Who's going to be responsible and who's going to be accountable for that?
Well, it is not government's business to be meddling into business affairs. Why do you want, the visible hands of the
Why should it
government
not be the
start?
government's business,
What
Rajat?
will?
Why should it not be
Okay,
the government's
tell me
business? Because we
constitutionally.
are this is a once in a century event, right? We are transitioning to a new technology, and if the government keeps talking about how we have a domestic dividend, how sort of companies should look at investing into India, why are they not looking at this aspect? Why are they not questioning these companies on what is being done to retain employees, even as there is a new wave of AI that is coming into the picture?
Well, with all my understanding of market forces, I don't see even an iota of space where government can come in and say that although it does not make any prudent economic sense for you to retain employees, you still cannot fire them because it's my diktat and I am a dictator here where I can, issue sermons around whom to hire, whom not to hire. Are you are you trying to indicate that government should enter into in that typical license raj where hiring and firing is not in the hands of an entrepreneur? I'm sorry, those are even uglier policy suggestions that can come to the fore. Right now, what the government should do is to free up spaces, allow creative ways of ensuring that international capital is again attracted to us. and we are able to find the right set of entrepreneurs which get the skill to get the scale to reach to levels where it is needed. Look, what I can foresee is that government has enough elbow room to give out orders to Indian entrepreneurs working in the AI space. Currently, several line departments of government is still onboarding Gemini and the other tools.
Right,
Why?
right.
You don't have to do that. So there are avenues in which government can
And
intervene and create certain
that means you agree
incentives.
that government has to be an enabler, and government
Enabler,
cannot
small
run away from
enabler,
the
yeah.
responsibilities. Having said that, I want to come to you, Shantanu, now. Today, only a small share of graduates are truly job ready. If AI advances rapidly, could India see a bigger gap where the education system continues to produce degrees but not employability?
So, see, I'm not as pessimist as my co-panelist in this particular case. I think that there is handling this problem at India's scale with the economic complexity that India actually is going through. It's not so easy. However, I see a lot of islands of excellence in this sea of averages. But however, I agree to the fact that there is a requirement for urgent intervention to ensure that we rehaul and we actually prepone or fast track the implementation of NEP, which creates the right conditions for the spontaneous combustion to happen. I think we'll need to ensure that there is a curriculum reboot. I mean, AI and data literacy, digital skills, tech fluency has to become a horizontal skills across all programs, all degrees, just not for computer science graduates. I really believe that work integrated learning should become the default and not the exception, because just classroom is not working. We must embed things like apprenticeship, degree apprenticeships, live projects, industry projects, all of these things inside degrees to ensure that students just are not educated but also skilled. We will need to ensure that there is a massive national level faculty upskilling going on, because you can't have faculty who are scared of AI. If they are scared of AI,
Absolutely.
so students will be. We'll need that, and we'll need assessment reforms to be able to ensure that we are just not assessing our youth today on rote skills,
Absolutely.
but actually assessing them on their job readiness skills. I think some of these things, if they're fast tracked, there's a great opportunity
Absolutely,
for a
and
country
that
like
policy, absolutely, Shantanu, and that policy is something that the government will need to undertake. The government will need to sort of incorporate in the curriculum in schools, and not just schools, but even colleges as well, so that the curriculum in schools and colleges is AI ready, is future ready. But let me take this final question to you, Rajat. Rajat, although you did about how this is not the government's job, but you talk about AI and the various initiatives that the government has undertaken. But if you look at the budgets, and of course the government has come very late when it comes to sort of announcing its own AI model. It was after many companies in the United States announced, and of course China's DeepSeek also announced. But let's digress from that a little bit, and let me ask you about this disruption point that we were talking about. This is going to cause disruption in labor markets, but one can definitely anticipate societal disruption as well. So if people do not have enough means, there's going to be disruption. Are governments prepared for a world that looks like that, where there is a lot of societal influx and disruption?
Well, I think a lot of philosophers and academics who are working on this subject are themselves not, they don't have the answers. Government and, we've seen this over and over again, that we have been missing buses, and this bus is also being missed right before our eyes. I don't think governments are foreseeing that future where work would be surplus and work would be done by most of these AI agents or by robots. They're not envisioning what's going to happen. But as I said, in an inverted U curve, there will be, a delta opportunity of 5 years, maybe 10 years, where you can really create a lot of surplus value. You can rise up and become a middle income country at best, and try and hope that there would be, that this reset button is going to create enough opportunities in the labor market, so that you can outsmart whatever AI and robotic interventions come in. But again, let me tell you, there is only so much that the government can do. This free thinking, this creative thinking has to come from our entrepreneurs. It has to come from India Inc. It has to scale to a level where our capital, although very less, our domestic capital can also be allocated into these risky bets that has to be taken. We should draw a couple of leaves out of the entire hyperscaler book being played out before us. All of this needs to be done simultaneously in our think tanks, everybody. So as I said, it has to be an all hands approach to understand, then interpret, and then imagine what the future is going to be. Otherwise, what this podcast of Elon Musk has put forth are huge public policy challenges that we will foresee. Last thought that I'm leaving you, there is, there was this podcast in which they were discussing that American rich and European rich are building bunkers. They are foreseeing a social disorder to a level that only bunkers can provide safety. Are we heading into that scary
All right.
a future? That's
All
the
right,
question.
Raj, as well as Shantanu, thank you so much for joining at this hour and for this free-flowing debate. But with this, it's time for a wrap in this discussion. And moving